Hey everybody, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is that you are tuning in here. We want to welcome you to the online gathering space of the Pathways Church community. And my name is Nick. And today we're going to do something a little different than what we normally do online. We're not going to have a sermon today or any of the other music stuff because in our in-person gatherings, we're kind of having a family discussion. And so we pivoted to that this week, kind of late in the week, because we've had sort of an opportunity come up for our church group that we just really need to talk about. And sometimes you got to pause some of the other things you had planned in order to make room for some of the conversations that are really important. And I've got a great sermon about sea monsters in the Bible, sea monsters in the book of Psalms even. And so we'll kind of save that for next week. So you can look forward to that, finding some sea monsters in your Bible next week. But today, in our in-person gatherings, our group is meeting together to discuss something that is significant and new for our community. Now, I have been a part of the Pathways Church community for 11 years, and in the entire time that I've been a part of Pathways, our church group has mostly met in person, and we have met inside of a high school cafeteria. Now, I know cafeterias can be quite glamorous, and of course we've been very grateful for the space that we've had to exist as a community. But it has been a challenge. We rent a Catholic high school cafeteria once a week. We're able to get in there for 3 or 4 hours. Usually when we come into that space, it is not been cleaned. So we come in there, we are dumping garbages, cleaning bathrooms, sweeping floors, folding up cafeteria tables, moving them out of the way, setting up all of our gear, putting down chairs, getting communion ready and coffee, and all of those things. It's quite an undertaking week to week. And so we have always had in mind that one day perhaps we could find a place where we could sort of set up and have as a home permanently. Well, as you know, many of you know, we have been meeting with a Lutheran church in Everett on the other side of the freeway. We've been getting together with them since January, and we became aware of them a few years ago and started some conversations with them. They have a beautiful building and grounds, but there are only 6 of them who meet in this Lutheran facility. And so we started talking with them, and it sort of turns out that while being very kind, gracious group of people, they're also a little bit lonely. It's kind of tough doing church with 6 people, and so they miss the excitement of being around a bigger, group of people that has stuff going on, and frankly, they're also a little bit tired of all the maintenance and upkeep on their building. So we started meeting with them, and as you've noticed in this online space, we've shared about how, we're going to do 2 weeks over there, and we'll do one, service their style and one service our style, and then we started blending things and trying things out, and it looked like perhaps they would invite us to come and rent space for them so that we could do our worship service over there. At least that was my original thought. I thought, okay, that's what'll happen. They'll say, why don't you come rent this space? And I thought, well, we'll do our service and they'll still want to do their service, and maybe we can help support the service that they want to do. It's very different than ours. If you've been to their service, it's a very traditional, liturgical type of response of reading and very liturgical style service. And I thought, okay, well, we'll support that separately. But it turns out, though, that they don't really want to do that. What they'd like to do is just kind of join in what we're doing because, they'd be happy to rent to us, but it's pretty nice to join a group of people where you feel like you've got some more community rather than just the 6 of you. They didn't want to miss out on the fun. And so we've had lots of conversations with them, and they've said, yeah, we know we're going to have to do worship style a lot more like how you do it rather than how we do it. But we're sort of willing to make that sacrifice if you guys would just come here and just join with us and do a gathering, a church gathering together. And so this last month, a week or so ago, they formally invited us to come and relocate to their building permanently. And so that is something that we are processing right now. And in our in-person gathering today, we're going to sit around and we're talking about that and expressing some of our dreams and possibilities that could happen because of this partnership, some of our reservations, things like that. Now, we're not much of a an authoritarian top-down type of group, and we like to sort of hear the voice of all of us. We're a small group, so we have the opportunity to do that, and so we felt like it was important for us to take that opportunity. And so I just wanted to share with those of you here in the online space what we're doing today so that you're aware of that and why this little change has happened. But I'd also like to hear your perspective. Some of you who are viewing this online have been there in person to see us working with the Zion group and have some thoughts, and I'd love to hear them. I'm just trying to solicit as many thoughts as we can get, and if you want to share them with us, you can do that. You can message us on Facebook, and I'll put my email on the screen here in a moment. You can email me if you'd like to do that, and we would just love to hear your thoughts if you are unable to make it in person to share some of those thoughts. And a couple of the things that I know people have questions about, there's three main things, okay? First one is identity. The second one is of a financial concern, money. And the third one has to do with timing. And so let me just address those really quickly here today. The first one, identity. We know that it's important for us to be who we are currently. We know that there are lots of churches out there, and that there are many people who can connect in with many of the evangelical churches that are out there today. But for many of us, there's a lot of those churches that just don't work for us anymore. They don't give enough space for us to think critically or to explore ideas that perhaps we had thought before were inaccessible. And so we need a space to be who we are. We're not a real formal group. We're a casual group. We're sort of borderline irreverent. There's a lot of people in our group who come from real formal church situations that have been burnt out, hurt, or otherwise sort of just disenfranchised with church, and have attached to us because we are kind of a different alternative. And we know that that identity needs to stay. We aren't trying to become Lutheran. We aren't trying to somehow adopt a different style of worship than we already do. We want to maintain the identity of who we are. Now, in partnering with Zion, what that means is when we come together, if we were to share a building with them, is we would also share a worship service, and it would be probably some sort of generic name like The Gathering or something, and it would be a combined worship service of the Pathways Church and the Zion Lutheran Church communities. So we would still maintain our own separate identity. We would just worship together, and I think that could be pretty nice. We would obviously, there's a lot more of us, we would add a lot of our flavor to things, but we would try to meet our brothers and sisters in the Zion community, and there's a few things that they've said, wow, it would be really great if we could do communion the way that we've normally done it, or they like to do some prayers of the people where they pray for one another. And those are a couple very small asks that seem very beautiful that we could easily incorporate into who we are. Now, for those of you online, some of that, in fact, most things, if we meet together with Zion, wouldn't change for you. In large part, this would look very much the same. That is part of the question people ask is about identity. We would keep our name, and we would keep our emphasis on who we are. The second thing is financial. Right now, we rent out a high school cafeteria, but we have a few other expenses. In terms of facility usage, we have a storage unit where we store a bunch of gear, and we have a small office space that is operable during the week. And so adding those three things together, it's about as cheap as you could do it in 2023 America. It's about $1,500 a month. And when Zion came to us and invited us to come and participate with them in doing ministry at their facility, they said, we don't really want renters, we want partners, but we know as partners you'll have to contribute financially to this endeavor as well. So they don't want to call it rent, let's just call it a contribution, and they said what we're thinking is somewhere around $1,500, which was a figure that we sort of had in our head, but they didn't know that, and that is what they came with. And so really, in sharing a building with them, it would actually mean that it would be sort of a net wash in terms of our financial obligations. But with that said, we would get used to the building all week long, and we've spent a lot of time dreaming about things that could happen in a building all week long, things that we have not been able to do in our current situation, reaching out to a neighborhood, doing all sorts of community service projects and ongoing community service things through that building. We've had to do that in the past through other churches and other places who had their own facilities, but we would be able to do that through our own shared building if we were to partner with them. Okay, so the first one is identity, the second one is financial, and the third one is timing. Now they currently are renting to a pretty large ethnic church who meets there and will be meeting there through the end of the year. So we'll need to share, if we move in with them before the end of the year, we'll need to share space a little bit until they have purchased their own building and they'll be moving out soon. But in terms of timing, what Zion has invited us to do is to begin worshiping with them in person at the beginning of October. And so what that would mean is we would need to get out of our other financial obligations here in September and begin a transition over to their place by October. And so that is the timing that we are talking about. Okay, so those are kind of the three main things there. We want to have a lot of discussion about this. We had a meeting at their facility this last Wednesday where people from the Pathways community came and shared a lot, and it was really, really good. It's really encouraging to hear how much people care about this group, and so that was really meaningful. But we just want to make sure, and it's summertime, and so people are gone and moving around and going on vacations and taking kids to school and whatever else. We just want to give a lot of opportunity to talk about it because this is a major deal. Pathways has moved 2 other times in its history, but it's been over a decade since that happened. And we want to have an opportunity to talk about that as a community. So we'll be doing that in person today. But again, I would love for you to share your thoughts on it if you have any as well, some dreams, some hopes, some concerns, whatever they are. We would love for you to share those and lend your voice to the conversation. And of course, you can do that by messaging us on Facebook, or you can email me. Now, my email here is right there at the bottom of that screen. You can email me at nloyd@findpathways.com, and I would love to hear your perspective on things if you would like to share them. The other thing that you can do is just be in prayer. Be praying over this whole thing. Some things have come together seem pretty, miraculous. We could afford about $1,500 a month, and that's exactly what they said they needed. We have an office space where I keep all my books, and that's where I study. And I've had it there for, 5 years. And I got a call this last week, and the guy said, "Hey, I'm retiring, and I'm not going to be able to give you the office space anymore. So sure hated to have to tell you this, but by the end of September or October, you're going to have to vacate that office." And I thought, wow, that's funny because that's the exact timing from Zion. So anyway, a lot of interesting things have come together, and I don't know. I live in a little bit of trepidation of trying to believe I know what God is saying, right? I've never heard God audibly say anything. I get the sense that this is one of those things where God's with us whatever we want to do. That if we stay in the cafeteria that we're in, that I think God's with us. If we decide to make a move to something like this, I think God is with us. I think it may be that God is looking at us saying, "Hey, what is it that you all want to do?" And then whatever that is, let's get busy doing it. From my perspective, I'll just let you know, I think it's an idea that might be worth really exploring here. I'm leaning towards the relocation idea because I think this is a church group that a lot of people do need. And we can continue to exist, but I would sure love to thrive. I'd love to take a few swings at the fence and risk a few things and see if we might be able to love on a neighborhood and offer, frankly, just a different perspective on church, a different way of doing church than many people feel that they have access to currently. And I know there's a lot of people in my life, relationships in my life with people who say, "Well, I believe in evolution," or "I'm okay with same-sex marriage," or whatever else, and I can't find room for myself in a lot of evangelical churches today. And I know there is a tendency then to want to just get rid of Jesus altogether, and I don't think that we have to do that. I think there's plenty of ways forward if we work together here. And so this church seems to fill that niche, and I would love for us to take steps, whatever they are, I guess, to risk really laying it all out there to invite more people to be a part of what this is. So that's pretty much it. Just wanted to share a little bit of that from my heart with you today because I know you're missing out on the in-person thing. And of course, next week we'll get back into Psalms and we'll talk about sea monsters that perhaps you don't know about in the book of Psalms and in the Bible in general, I guess. So that's pretty much it for today. Hope that you have a really, really great week and look forward to catching up with you here in this space next Sunday. And until then, God bless you, and we'll see you. Bye.